Self-Reliance and Thanksgiving. Hi, I'm Brian Pombo. Welcome back to Brian J. Pombo Live, coming to you on Thanksgiving night 2019. Today I want to talk about a topic that kind of surrounds Thanksgiving and how it ties back to your business. So, Thanksgiving, if you think about it, is really the ultimate self-reliance story. Okay, and if you know enough about the story, it's really two times, and a lot of times we refer to the 1621 feast that they had, that lasted 3 days, had 50 or so survivors of the Mayflower, and out of 100 or so that came over, only about 50 or so survived after starving and dying of numerous diseases, and about 90 or so Native Americans that were also there. In actually reading the accounts of this day of Thanksgiving that we oftentimes refer to as Thanksgiving, it was not a joyful time. It was pure survival. I mean, they didn't really have an abundance of food. Nothing really turned out the way they wanted. They hadn't really created as much corn as they had hoped. They hadn't created as much food as they were hoping for. They were dependent on the Native Americans to bring all the necessary food to be able to really have a good feast. And it lasted 3 days because everyone was taking advantage of it. And after that, they were starving again. I mean, they were really at a point of famine. It really isn't what is proposed through a lot of our holiday traditions. Most of the time, when the people of that colony were referring to this great feast of Thanksgiving, they were actually referring to 1623, which was years later, after they kind of got their act together, switched around their government structure and everything to make sure that everybody was basically benefiting themselves as much as possible, and that everyone was responsible for becoming self-reliant. Was a huge piece of their change around in government structure. It changed everything, and it made it to where they had an abundance of food on many levels. And that is really what they refer to as Thanksgiving most of the time. You could go back and look at the history of this and look at William Bradford's recordings of this and all the other people that were writing at the time. It's very, very interesting history, and it has to do with self-reliance, and it has to do with feast or famine. And a lot of times in our own businesses, we get in a situation where we are not we're not surviving, or we're just barely surviving. We're at a point of famine. And it's at that point that you need to really pull back and take a look at what you're doing and really focus on the things that matter most in your business, and mainly increasing sales. And that's a huge piece. If you've had periods of feast, though, you know what it takes to do that. And the whole thing is, how do you grow off it? It's actually tougher to grow off of feast than off of famine, because you're not quite sure what else to do to succeed even more. At least when you're starving, you know where to go from there. Oftentimes, the people that I've found that have some of the toughest times are the people that have already been successful and don't know where to go from there. So, if you'd love to talk about it, go check out dreambizchat.com. Go and check out that video and tell me what you think, and think if it would help you in your business. And I hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving. This was just a quick message tonight. Hey, in the meantime, come on back again. We're going to do this every single day, right here, Brian J. Pombo Live. Whether you're listening to this via podcast or watching the videos, you're always welcome to come back. We do this daily. So check you next time. Have a great night. Get out there. Let the magic happen.